Alright guys, Kremp here and I hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. Loads of reaction to Los Angeles Thieves' first real win as their new team. Yes, it's the minor tournament, but they did win the event, going into the major in Dallas in just a couple of weeks' time, taking down Surge in the grand finals. Lots of reaction to this, especially from the likes of Ghosty, talking all kinds of trash on Vancouver Surge after their series victory last night, revealed by a vlog that Thieves put out shortly after their win. How's this going to translate going forward? Could Surge potentially get revenge on LAN, or are they not going to be the same team in a couple of weeks' time in Texas? Very much interested to your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I greatly appreciate it. Plenty to get into today. If you guys didn't see this last night, another banger grand finals here that Black Ops 6 has delivered. Look, it might not be the best competitive game. I do find it much more watchable than some of the recent titles, and Thieves, after FaZe were eliminated by Surge, they became the favourites, really. But Surge also were never going to be too far out of the conversation because they've now beaten FaZe twice in a row. They smoked Toronto 3-0 in the other side of the bracket, and then played Thieves in a very competitive series in what turned out, of course, to be the grand finals. Thieves' Search and Destroy, in the end, was the difference maker, which goes to show that they've put a lot of work into that mode. Of course, it was actually a couple of hard points they lost in this grand final. They won the controls, they won largely the Search and Destroys, they lost the red card, but they won when it matters. And I think it's a good sign for the Thieves because against FaZe, that was the factor that differentiated those two teams. FaZe's Search was just a bit better. Thieves were better in the other modes, but it didn't matter because, you know, FaZe effectively hit them with a Nezo in the grand finals. This shows that Thieves have worked on that side of things, and it makes Thieves a very scary team because, like, when FaZe won Major 1, they were looking really good, like a great version of FaZe. They looked like they were firing on all cylinders, and yet Thieves were incredibly close to them with relatively weak Search and Destroy. Now Thieves' Search looks better. Thieves will go into the major as the favourite as it stands, unless something crazy happens online in the next couple of weeks in the final couple of sets of qualifiers. That's going to be how it is, and Surge will go in with high expectations as well. They were undefeated with Neptune until this point. They'd won a load of series in a row, like 6-7 series in a row, something like that, since bringing in Neptune. Obviously, Thieves then shut that down at the grand finals, but still, it's 20 points for Surge. It's no money for Surge, notably. This was a winner-takes-all tournament. You win the grand finals, you win the 20 grand. You don't, basically. But still, a very impressive result. However, there is obviously going to be talk about, alright, how much does this actually matter? How much does this really mean? It should be noted, though, FaZe won the last minor. The last minor grand finals was FaZe versus Ravens, both teams that came top 4 at the major, and FaZe won it, and of course Ravens were 4th. OpTic came 4th, as did, I think it was OpTic and RenkoR, wasn't it, who were top 4 last time out. So, look, it's a single elimination online tournament. It's not going to perfectly predict what happens at the major in about 2-3 weeks' time, but it is going to be relevant, as we saw the first time. Thieves winning this is an indication that they should be in a good spot to win the major. Whether they will do so, that's another question. And whether Surge can replicate this online performance on LAN, that still remains another question too. I thought it was nice to hear from Rambo here. GG's to the Thieves, guys. Hella proud of the team, regardless of the outcome. We've been progressing at a super fast rate, and this final really showed us where we're lacking and what to focus on next, because Neptune has been on smoke. But to be fair, and it maybe shouldn't be a massive surprise, the way that Neptune plays the game, he is going to get caught off sometimes. Like, when he's not just winning every single gunfight, he is going to get caught off. It happened a fair bit, right, of course, in that game 7. Nep was getting caught off in the Search and Destroy, maybe in a similar way to what HyDra was back at Major 1 against FaZe in the final. So, something to learn about there for Surge for sure, but as I said yesterday, the fact that Neptune didn't really have a good grand finals, and yet the team was still very competitive and very much could have won the grand finals. I mean, if Nastie has been so good lately, and he's been a key reason why they've looked as good as they have done Nastie over the last couple of weeks. But if he did check the bomb in that 1v1 against HyDra, they would have won the series because they'd have won that Search and Destroy, right? And then they'd have gone on to win it from there. So, you know, small margins, right? Very, very small margins indeed that have caused this series to go a different way, and that's with Neptune not having the best grand finals, which shows some degree of impact, but also shows they could potentially get even better. There is a question as well, because Neptune is based out of Indianapolis. This was kind of discussed yesterday. We were wondering exactly where he's based out of. Turns out he's based out of Indiana. Now, that is interesting if you think about it. I don't really want to bring up the Google Maps. I guess you know what, why not? So this definitely does create a pretty interesting internet situation here, right? So, you know, if he's based out of Indianapolis and the rest of the guys are based out of Vancouver, then Well, I mean, like, what does it mean in terms of when they play certain rosters? Because if they play teams, you know, let's say based out of LA or something, then what server are they going to play on? That's just been a talking point, isn't it? That, you know, it's plausible that for some of these teams, they're playing them in, you know, situations that may advantage Neptune. Of course, this time they then played the team in Texas, obviously Los Angeles Thieves based out of Dallas. So, you know, the fact that he was up here in Indiana and then the other guys are from Vancouver, you know, it's an interesting internet split. Who it favors, who it doesn't favor, that is a debate. Maybe it doesn't favor anyone. Of course, there was talk, oh, well, Neptune, he finally plays a Texas team and, you know, he's dropping a 0.9 or whatever. But, like, I think there's much more to it than that. The question, of course, though, really being, okay, can he do it when it comes to a LAN environment? Can the team do it when it comes to a LAN environment? Thieves, we know, can do it on LAN, and maybe they quite well will. But whether they can capitalize on this is a question, as Octed says, CDL minor world champion. So, you know, how much of a big deal really is this? I know there's been talk about it because obviously it was Ghosty talking all kinds of trash at the end of the series. I'm actually going to share exactly what he said to these guys in a second because we do thankfully have the behind the scenes footage of that as well. This was a pretty funny clip because Scrap and Ghosty were talking all kinds of trash to these guys after the win. And then when it went to the surge cameras, you can see that Abuzah's already gone. Nastie's already up out of his chair. O4's gone as well with his headset off. So they probably didn't really hear any of the trash talk is what I'm saying. Yeah, like, you know, obviously Ghosty and Scrap were talking to them down the line, but, you know, the reality is that Surge were like, oh, GG's, and they probably got up and walked around and were frustrated, and then, you know, fist bumped and called it a day. But Ghosty gets a win, right? This was the talking point that many had yesterday. Congratulations, Ghosty, his first ever kind of championship victory. But is it really a championship victory, right? Like, you know, if you want to count this one, then of course you've got to count FaZe's one. You've got to say, oh, well, you know, FaZe hit the 3-peat or whatever it was that Drazah was talking about, including the minor tournaments back in January. I don't know so much about that one. And here we are at the start of March. So, look, Ghosty had been in multiple grand finals until this point with OpTic back in 2023, whatever it was, during the Modern Warfare 2 season. Last year as well was the same story on the Thieves on a couple of occasions. Well, at least, let's say, at EWC last year. And then this year, of course, was already in the grand finals at Major 1 and lost again. So, you know, 4 big grand finals for Ghosty so far in his career, 4 defeats for Ghosty until yesterday when he gets the win. But it is a minor. So, look, congrats, Ghosty. Gets a first victory to some degree, but, like, it's an online single elimination tournament. It's not going to me, count as much as the majors are. It's a big deal, and look, as far as I'm concerned, I would like to see this literally every single weekend. I feel like the tournament format is so much more interesting than the regular online qualifiers. Maybe every weekend is too much, but I don't really think I would have an issue with it if almost every weekend there was something like this going on. Now, of course, some teams wouldn't be happy because they would every weekend play one game, get bopped out of the tournament, and that'd be GG. They want to play more matches than that, but at least would get to see some of the better teams in action. And it would build some great storylines, right? Like, imagine you go into the major, there have been 4 minor tournaments in the preceding 4 weekends. Thieves have won 2, FaZe have won 1, you know, Surge have won 1, OpTic have won another 1 if there was 5, right? Okay. Right now that's somewhat doubtful, but who knows in the future. I guess we'll see whether the CDL, because I think the minor format has been a success. I think that's really my takeaway here from what we've seen this month, last month. Like, the viewership for the grand finals here was much greater than I would have expected it to be for a regular league match on a Sunday night between Thieves and Surge. I also believe that they play again. It's the first match back, I think, on this Friday. Is Thieves versus Surge again. So that's going to be pretty exciting to see them play in the qualifiers. But I think the CDL will look at the minor format and say, you know what, viewership-wise, engagement-wise, interest-wise, it was a success compared to maybe even what they were expecting. So intrigued to your thoughts on that in the comments below. Now, of course, there was some interesting comments in the timeline last night, but I do have to share a couple of the bits of trash talk really that were going down, and then we'll discuss what the standings in the league look like right now, because it's maybe getting a little bit concerning for certain people. As Scrap says, we take home the minor, and, well, no further comment required. So, what I will share is the following. Nadeshot said, I know it's not a major, but it feels good to see the boys finally win. CDL minor 2 champions for the Los Angeles Thieves. And this then was the vlog that they put out yesterday. So just a couple of minutes of this I want to just share. This was kind of during the course of their games over the weekend. Of course, they turn up with the championship whites. They go on to win the championship, and then Ghosty is talking all kinds of trash down the mic.
Fucking hell. Oh my god, I need to have a camera, mate. What a comeback, eh? What a fucking comeback. Just knock the shit together. No, great adaptation, boys. Bro, the first one. Nah, when that clock goes red, I'll bench you, man.
I'm not a villager today.
Perfect shit, boys. Good
I'm the
fucking
Ender
dragon.
Gwinn, man.
Oh my god. So very good. Oh my god, we just can't build. It's a video.
Oh,
What do you think of
yo, going to grand finals.
Lit. You want one?
I'm watching.
Bro. Hashtag shit on back. Come on, man. I want you over here. Thanks, man. Come on, man. Can you kill him? It's good, man.
Game 7, Skyline.
Oh my god.
Here we go.
I'm not going underground. If it's 5-5, I'm going there.
Game 7, Skyline. We've been here before.
These guys are nervous as fuck, bro.
Oh yeah.
They're in a grand final of anything, bro. Like, they can't even get finals of a 2K. You know what I'm saying? Yep. Going to game 7 here, bro? Just make sure.
What the fuck is he doing? You will never play me on LAN finals, by the way. I hope you know that. Never! Give me the minor now!
Right here.
This is not me or Gil's fault. I don't want to hear shit about this. This is not me or Gil's fault.
Right here. In this situation right here, if you put your controllers down and go for a piss.
I don't know why you're looking at us. Look at these fucking two kids. Because I was the one in the comms saying, yo, I'm guaranteeing this.
So this was the final bracket in the end. Surge making the run all the way from the first round. It was a 3-1 against Boston. It was a 3-2 against FaZe. It was a 3-0 against Ultra. And it was a 4-3 against Surge. I still the other way around, right? I feel kind of bad again for Boston just because, like, Boston turned up to the first major and they were really good online, Boston. They were the 3rd seed. They had to play FaZe and then they lost and then they got dropped out of the tournament by Cloud9. This minor tournament, they turn out have to play Surge in the first round and have no further part to play in the tournament. But obviously they've got to improve and level up. And Boston will be the team that many are looking at to say, okay, they are at serious risk of not making it to the World Championship. These are the current standings in the Call of Duty League. FaZe are still the #1 seed, but by 5 points. I mean, look, every year for the last 5 years, FaZe have won the regular season standings. It was my opinion, and it was others' opinion before the year, that if there was a team that could dethrone them this year, it would be Thieves. OpTic always have had a chance of that, although it's not going to happen anymore. But obviously, for OpTic sides, they... well, you know, their ceiling is very high, their floor is very low. We knew that about their team last year, so seeing them overhaul FaZe in the regular standings this year didn't seem likely. The only team to me that had a chance of that was Thieves, and Thieves are now within 5 points. Same win-loss, similar map win-loss, actually a better map win-loss for Thieves as it stands. So, yeah, they've won the minor. FaZe got 0 points in the minor, Thieves got 30, so that puts them at 185. Ravens are looking pretty as well. They're at 145, 13-8 on the season. Toronto is still the 3rd seed by some margin, actually, but they're certainly not the 4th bell. They're still the 4th seed by some margin, but they're not the best team in that 4th position by some margin right now. You know, Surge, on the way that they've played, should be the 3rd best team in the game. That's certainly how they've looked. They beat FaZe twice, they nearly beat Thieves. No other team is able to do that as it stands. RenkoR, Miami, they both had a pretty underwhelming showing here. Cloud9, they looked better, but when it mattered against Thieves, you know, they did pretty much collapse in those final 3 maps. Gentlemates are a shambles, and, you know, the least said about Falcons, the better. I just think what's very interesting about this is where OpTic sits, right? Because OpTic sit at 85 points. They were the #1 seed for the major. Let's not forget, #1 seed for the major. They did very well in the online qualifiers during the first stint, but bombed out of the major, and since then it's been a disaster. And they've now fallen to 8th place. So they're behind Surge, they're behind RenkoR, they're behind Miami, and they're substantially behind the likes of Toronto and Ravens and all this. So, you know, obviously we're going to talk about the major, the fact that it's pretty unlikely they started winners, because they've literally not won a map in any of the qualifiers so far. They beat the Falcons, but that was at the minor, so it doesn't count for their points towards, you know, the seeding for the major tournament in a couple of weeks. But even if you think about the World Championship, right, like already OpTic are in a position where, you know, maybe New York are making some progress. I think Boston are probably a bit better than they've shown over the last few series. And yeah, it's getting a little bit precarious. Like, I'm not trying to say that OpTic aren't going to make the World Championship. If they keep playing like this, they absolutely will not. But I assume that they're not going to keep playing like this forever. But it's just, you know, they'll need to overtake some teams, is the point. Because even if, let's say, OpTic end up the 8th seed for the World Championship, you want to play FaZe or Thieves round 1? Not really, right? You want to be in the 3rd seed, ideally, if not even better. So, look, long road ahead. That's the way the season currently stands. Very much intrigued to your thoughts on all of this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.